Hey, I'm Cameron McKenzie. I'm the editor-in-chief over at theserverside.com. You can follow me on Twitter, CameronMCNZ. And I wanted to talk to you about doing a rebase. And in this example, I want to show you how to do a rebase to master. Specifically, I'm going to take my develop branch and merge it into the master branch, but not by using a merge, but by using a rebase. And of course, the big distinction here is when I do a rebase, I end up changing the commit history. So if you look here, this is the current branch that I'm using. You can find this, I've got an account at GitHub and GitLab that has this. You can fork it and do this exercise yourself. I really recommend that. But the basic repository goes like this. There are 5 commits in the master branch, A, B, C, D, and E. And then after branch C, we actually moved into a split for the develop branch, and the develop branch has commits F and G on it. Now, in each commit, we create a brand new HTML file that maps to the name of the commit. So you can see that at commit number E, the master branch has files A, B, C, D, and E in it, right? That maps to the history of the master branch. But after the develop branch split off from C, it added F and G commits, which means it has the F and G.html files in it. The master branch does not have F and G because it was not a party to those particular commits, and the develop branch does not have D and E because it was not a party to those commits on the master branch. And so the goal here is to rebase develop onto master, which means we now take this commit G and we reverse the entire branch history here and stick that F commit at the end of E. That will give us D and E in the develop branch, and we end up with all 7 files when the rebase occurs successfully. And so you can see here, that's the original graph structure of the repository. When we're done, it becomes very, very linear. We take that develop branch and we put G and F right at the end of E. And you can kind of see a listing of all of the different files in the bottom here. After the rebase, we have a very linear type of branching here. The only place we have a branch is after the tip of the master branch, and that's where the develop branch comes off. And you can see that the master branch, when we're done, it remains with the same set of files that it had originally. Nothing changes with the master branch other than the fact that nobody is splitting off from commit number C. Instead, the split happens at commit E. That's where anybody looking at this repository will see the branching of develop. And also develop, because it's now stuck at the end of the E branch, gets all of the files in E. And so at the end, the develop branch has 7 files in it, all of the files it started with, plus the D and the E files. Now, here's how we do it in code. I would really like you to follow along on this example. So you can actually just fork this project. It's at gitlab.com/CameronMCNZ/simple rebase and merge example. It's also on GitHub, same URL except github.com. And all you have to do is go to the project and you'll see a fork button and just fork it into your own GitLab or GitHub repository. And then you can clone it. So I've already done that. I got a separate account called J Guevara here. It has forked the simple rebase and merge, and I'm just going to clone that whole repository and bring it down to my local file system. Now I have to cd into that folder. And the other thing that you need to do, you just need to make sure that you've got both branches locally, and I have to do that by doing a git checkout of the developer branch. That's just called develop. So branch develop has now been checked out. You know, it's also interesting if you want, just do a git log graph. And it'll actually show you what the actual repository looks like. And you can see here everything that has mass after it was part of the master branch commit, and then anything that has dev after it was part of the dev branch commit. And so you can kind of see here is the master branch, and then that's part of master as well. as is this, and then these two commits are part of the dev branch. So what I want to do is I want to do that rebase. So I want to come in and I want to take the developer branch right here and rebase it onto the top of the master branch right there, E. Not too hard to do. All I have to do is issue the git rebase command, and master is going to be what we're rebase onto, and the branch that we want to rebase is called develop. And that's all we have to do in order to issue the command. Now I'm actually not going to do it now. I'm just going to check my status. And I'm on the develop branch, and I want you to see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files here, A, B, C, F, G, but I'm missing D and E. And D and E are part of the master branch. And so if I issue this git rebase command, the rebase is going to work, the history is going to be changed, and now you can actually see, it looks like it's kind of reversed a few things, and it's now putting F and G commits back on top of master. Bottom line is, if I now do an ls command, you'll notice that I've got two new files, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And if I take a look at my git log history in graph format, you'll see that I've got a very, very flat git log graph. I've got a very flat history. And this history is telling me that, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commits on the master branch, A, B, C, D, and E. There's null in initial commit, but these are the ones I'm concentrating on, A, B, C, and D, and E. And then it says, oh, and then after E, develop came along, did a branch, and then applied commit F and G. Now that's not what happened, right? If you actually look at the previous graph, you'll see that the develop branch actually branched off after C. So we've actually rewritten the entire history here. We've rewritten the whole history of the master branch and the develop branch. And also notice, even though these commits have the same name, fdev and gdev, if we actually go up here and take a look at the commit IDs, you'll see that starts with B7 and F7. You notice that originally those two commits don't have the same commit IDs. So it's not only kind of changed the history, but it hasn't just moved commits around. It's actually deleted the old commits and then created brand new commits with new commit IDs. So that's what's going on here. You're now getting this scenario where what was previously this F and G branch, which was branching off of C, now we actually have F and G put onto the tip of E. And in that process, F and G now are getting applied to a commit that has D and E in it. And so now at the end, this develop branch has A, B, C, D, E, F, and G in it. It's got all of the files, whereas opposed it only had 5 before. Now the thing is, E isn't changed. We didn't do any changes with E. So if I come back into my Git repository and do a checkout of master and do the ls command, you'll see that master still has the 5 files in it that it started off with. Now let's get back to develop. Okay, so that all seems to have worked properly. So there you go, that's the whole idea of a rebase. One thing that is worth mentioning, if you ever try and push your changes back to Git, or you try and push your changes back to GitHub, you're going to get some flack for it, especially if you've done a rebase on branches that originally came from a remote repository and other users may have them. You're supposed to only do rebases on local topic branches, on local development. You shouldn't do it with branches that other people are using, because it's going to cause a whole lot of trouble. However, if you do want it, well, let me show you what happens if I try and do a git push origin of the master branch. Let's see what happens. Ask for my username. And let me do git push. Well, it's the develop branch that changed, right? So notice that as I try and push the develop branch, I get a lot of static. I did the master branch first, but of course the master branch hasn't changed, so it doesn't mind a push to the master branch. But if you're now going to push that develop branch, it's going to say, hey, this is going to be rejected. We don't like this at all. You're doing some crazy branch changing history commit stuff. Not going to accept it. So you can actually do a force switch on here and actually force the server to take it. And so now that force has pushed that up. And I can now go up to this particular GitLab repository, J Guevara. I'll take a look at the graph. And you'll notice now the graph is changed, right? We've got develop off master. So that's a pretty significant change right there. But by default, GitHub, GitLab, they don't want to take the changes after a rebase. And the reason is if somebody else now comes in here and tries to do a pull and merge these changes, some of their commits are going to be gone. New commits are there. The branch point of the develop branch isn't the same branch point as their develop branch. And all sorts of problems can happen. So, that's just a caveat. Be very, very careful when you do a rebase. So I really hope that gave you a good idea about how the Git rebase to master works. Now, if you enjoyed this tutorial, head over to the serverside.com. I'm the editor-in-chief over there, and we've got lots of great articles and tutorials on Git, GitHub, DevOps tools, and all sorts of stuff that has to do with enterprise software development. Also, if you're interested in my personal antics, you can follow me on Twitter at CameronMCNZ. Oh, and subscribe on YouTube.